Everything exists until it's observed. That's the observation principle. Everything is frequency, and there's different frequencies that affect your body. It's not the question whether it's being affected or not, it's which ones are affecting it.
Welcome back to Born SuperHuman. So today's guest, I actually met watching him speak on stage, and it was fascinating because in all reality, this is a topic that I really don't know too much about, but I was so fascinated by it that it kept reminding me as I heard about quantum frequency, I had to reach out to our guest. Now, he's an innovator. He has a company called Qi Life, which with Qigong and Qi Coils, which I've actually experienced, has a fascinating ability to help people cure and live a better wellness. Not only that, he's a third generation Bruce Lee student for martial arts, plays the piano, and is very active in doing the things the body needs. Well, I'm going to let him explain even more. So, welcome to Born SuperHuman, David Wong.
Hey, glad to be here.
I remember when I saw you on stage and you were talking about the discovery from astronauts and about energies and frequencies. I'd love for you to start by explaining what it is you do and then tell us that story, because I've never forgotten it even though it's been a couple of years.
Yeah, well, they've done a lot of different studies, one particularly done by NASA. They sent astronauts into space. You know, when the first times they did it in the space station, they found that they were losing a lot of bone mass because there's no gravity in space, right? So these astronauts were given very strict regimen to exercise rigorously every day to maintain that bone mass. But no matter what they did, it wasn't really successful. They just kept losing bone mass. So somebody came up with the idea, so what if we replicate the magnetic field of Earth in the space station? Maybe that's the trick. Maybe they're missing the magnetic field because they're so far in space, right? So what happened was they installed something kind of similar to this, which we call the aura coil, which basically generated a magnetic field in the space station. And what happened was that it worked. They were actually able to maintain their health levels much better just because they were now introducing or returning to this magnetic field that they experienced on Earth. And the frequency they used was 7.83, which is the frequency of, the Schumann resonance, they call it, right? It's the frequency of Earth. So based on that, they did some more further studies, and they found that cells, human cells, actually regenerated faster with these frequencies in space, 40% faster, to be exact, rather than not having the frequency. So that's just one experiment. There's been countless of them done on Earth, done in space, showing that frequencies and magnetic fields can benefit the body and benefit the cells. And that was done in, I think, 2009 or something like that, quite a while ago. So now there's been quite a lot of advance since then. Ourselves as a company, we've done a lot of our own advancements. We can talk about that, how we can basically use frequencies to not only help the body, but actually retune in whole environments so that everybody in an environment can experience better wellness.
Yeah, I remember when I was sitting in the audience and you had this massive, what would I call it? All the coils and that the whole audience was experiencing while you were on stage talking.
It's actually this one here.
Is it the one behind you?
It's well, yeah, it's the same one that we were using a few years ago. We've made some new improvements to it, but it's called the aura coil. And this one has it can cover 3,000 square foot or more, depending on how many you have, right? And it's a very, we've had a lot of success with it. So that's what you experience. So in the room, people were attending that event. And while they were in the room, as they were getting that energy, they were getting that frequency and that magnetic energy, basically tuning them up.
So that would really help if somebody has an office and they want their staff more functioning through the day, regeneration of cell health, as well as energy. having
Oh, yeah.
that would be an incredible addition.
Well, it's already happening. It's already being implemented. Like we have Dr. Howard Cohn in his institute. He has a whole set there, and many other doctors and people with medical spas and medical clinics that use these. There's basically, yeah, so there's this one way, which is to have it passively generate or broadcast this energy in a large space. It can also be used actively, more in a more potent, concentrated way, which is what you see here. We actually have the whole system set up. We call it the MedBed Qi Coil system, and you can see we've combined actually 8 different frequency technologies. We can go into them, but basically it's got red light therapy, infrared, sound, crystal resonance. It's got scalar waves. It's got basically every kind of frequency technology all synthesized and synergizing together into one thing. So you would lie here, and in 5 minutes you would feel energized, and you would feel recharged like nothing else.
Amazing. I have to ask off of what you said before, because we talked about bone density that you were talking about with the astronauts and bone loss. This obviously, my presumption would be people with osteoporosis. This would be invaluable to them because we know how dangerous that is. Is that the case?
Well, we can't make any claims, but according to the studies done on PEMF, which is pulse electromagnetic field frequencies, there's hundreds of studies done on an increasing bone density specifically, right, and bone mass, and bone healing, fracture healing as well. So we base our technologies. One of our main technologies is PMF with our Qi coils, but we can't directly make those claims. But we are using that technology.
And I'm going to say this is not you saying this in here, David, it's me. It's really sad that we can't make claims, because in America, you can't take real life experience and make a claim off of that. The FDA has a limitation. And what I love is real life experience. I love real life results. And I would love to sit here and be able to say we can't make claims, but there's so many stories of incredible results.
Well, I can tell you stories. There's I just heard one from one of our clients. He is a chiropractor, yeah. So he had his longtime client who actually broke one of her bones. I'm not sure if it was the arm or the leg, but then he was playing the frequency for her once every day for about an hour. And then they were going to do surgery for her. So while she was waiting for surgery, she would do these sessions with this chiropractor. So basically what happened is after 2 weeks, she didn't have to have the surgery anymore. And when she went back to get the x-rays, the bones healed in place perfectly, as if somebody physically, attached them together at the proper places. Somehow the frequencies made the body kind of know how to reconstruct that in the perfect position and just put it together. And he's totally shocked at how this happened. And I'm so totally shocked too. And so that's one story. We have lots like that. Yeah, so I can tell the stories. There's lots of them.
Yeah, it's great. And that's what Born SuperHuman is all about. The body is incredible. And I know you being an entrepreneur, but an innovator entrepreneur, continue to push and find and discover new ways to naturally heal the body, because the body's incredible. With that being said, let's go back to your start, because I know, and people will find this fascinating, you cured yourself of an incurable disease.
Yes, I did.
Please tell us the story.
So I had ulcerative colitis. It's incurable. You're bleeding in your gut every day. It was pretty serious. I had to go to the bathroom 20 times a day. I had severe blood loss. I was anemic. I was had brain fog. I couldn't focus, chronic fatigue. I couldn't even function. I was in my 20s and I was extremely sick for someone my age, and very depressed because I couldn't do the things I wanted to do. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to build businesses and so on. And none of them was happening. I was completely broke. And it came to a point where I realized, I got to do something. I got to change. I can't stay in this state of illness and sickness and disease forever. it was ongoing for 10 years. So I was just crying, my face completely wet on the, kneeling on the ground, and I was crying to God. I said, what do you want me to do? What's my path? Right? Am I going to stay like this my whole life? What do you want me to do? And then in the silence, I heard a voice, and it told me, David, meditate. And I heard it very clearly, and I was kind of like shocked. I was like, whoa, where'd that come from? And meditate. I never thought about that before. I pray, went to church when I was younger, but what's this meditation thing? So that sent me down a path of self-discovery. Back when I was young, I studied music, I studied engineering. I like to tinker with things, electronics and things like that. So I started to, research about frequencies and sound and music and how that would help me meditate better. And I found some frequencies that gave me these really deep, extremely profound, very inexplicable experiences within meditation, these trance-like states. And then I said, well, this is interesting. Where could this go? So I said, well, what about these coils? What about these shapes of coils? Now maybe I can, play it through the coil, see what happens, because now we can change the sound energy into magnetic energy. I wonder what would happen. Maybe that would go even in a deeper state of meditation. So that's what I did. And then I was completely blown away with like how I felt, the calmness, the depression started to subside. I started to feel more energy, more motivation. And what happened was also I felt something in my gut happening, like some kind of pulsing or massaging. And I said, what's going on here? And then the bleeding started to slow down. And then a week later, it was even less. And I kept using it. And basically within about 6 to 8 weeks, all the bleeding stopped. And then I said, this is it. I found it. My prayer was answered, right? My call out to God was answered. He gave me the answer. So after 10 years of suffering, I finally say, the suffering is over. Could this be real? Is this real? Is this like this technology is actually doing this, these frequencies? So I started testing it with other people, my parents, father, mom, brother, sister, whatever, and my friends. And then they all experienced, positive changes, right? My dad was having severe sleep issues. He had insomnia for like 2 months. He lost all his weight. His stress was killing him. And I said, hey, Dad, why don't you try this thing? I've been using it and it's worked for me. Maybe it'll help you with sleep too. And then that night he tried it. He slept. He went from like 1 hour off sleep to 4 hours, just one night, right? And he kept using it. Now his sleep is perfect. And my mom has some knee issues, right? And then now, she walks and, she basically went down. It didn't go down completely, but she uses it every day and it helps her manage that pain a lot better, right? And so on. So that just gave me more confidence. And then I say, well, there's so many people out there that are probably suffering right now, and that are probably also calling out to God in their own way, desperate for some kind of solution, desperate for some kind of healing. And they're willing to do whatever it takes, right? Because they're just sick and tired of it. And they're willing to give, some people even close to giving up. I say, I gotta get this out there so that they can, have some hope and have something to help them, right? So I started this company and I started to promote this. And the first coil was very crude that we made, the Qi Coil version 1, but it worked, right? And then that's what people wanted, right? Now we have something very advanced and very sleek and everything, like this Qi Coil Max, we call them. And we have like software, and we have like a pretty AI that is integrated with it now. But then it just started to roll. It starting to snowball, right? The people start using it, getting more results. They tell their friends, and now we have over 100,000 people all around the world. We've had this company about 8 years now that have been impacted because of our frequencies, because of our technology. And I'm so proud and I'm so honored to be someone that could, turn my own story into something that can help other people.
How did you take it with your mind and obviously the innovation side? How did you find a frequency that you could take and add a gravitational pull, or turn it from sound into gravity or magnetic force?
There's many layers of that. So everything is frequency, right? We know reality, like we talked about quantum physics, right? Reality is basically energy, information, and frequency. Okay, ancient wisdom, such as like Taoism, is basically that. So now modern physics and Taoism is basically saying the same thing, just different language. It's the same pattern that we're all seeing, right? And now technology is catching up to what the ancients have been saying for thousands of years. So everything at the smallest level is not solid, right? You go down to the smallest level, it's not solid, it's just space. So everything exists until it's observed, right? That's the observation principle. So why am I saying that? It's because everything is frequency, and there's different frequencies that affect your body. It's not the question whether it's being affected or not, it's which ones are affecting it right now, okay? So one way that we've developed frequencies is based it on nature. Like the most basic one is Earth's frequency, 7.83, right? Many people use that. Then we have brain waves. Our brain has alpha, betas, delta, and not delta, alpha, beta, gamma, right? And so on, right? Theta, right? And so we can use and emulate frequencies with that to tune our brain waves into certain states. So that's another easy way of understanding it. And then the next level is, well, there's construction and deconstruction frequencies. You know, for example, if you've seen before someone who sings in front of a wine glass and it shatters because the pitch makes the wine glass vibrate at just the right frequency to make it resonate and explode, right? That's called deconstructive frequencies. Okay, there's also constructive frequencies. So, well, if you can make glass shatter, wouldn't there be a frequency to make glass stronger? Well, actually there is, right? So that's how Dr. Royal Rife created his frequency. So if you've heard about Dr. Rife, he is basically someone who invented a microscope back in 1920s that had the highest magnification multiplier at the time, which was like, I think it's 3,000 or 10,000 times, which is the highest at that time. So he was one of the first people to kind of look at cells at that level and look at them inside a microscope. So he was studying leukemia cells, cancer cells. And at the same time, he also developed something like a radio that was able to broadcast different frequencies. So he was trying to figure out how to play frequencies to affect cells. And what he found was that he tuned one frequency at a time, and until he found this frequency that would make these cancer cells destroy themselves, basically vibrate just like that wine glass. And he said, wow, I think I found something that could destroy cancer cells without affecting human healthy cells, which is huge, right? Because if you do chemo, they're killing everything in that area, right? So I gotta be careful what I say here, but that's the story with Dr. Rife. And then he did a clinical trial. 13 cancer patients which were terminally ill, and they would come into his office, do a treatment. I think it's only about, I don't know the exact number. If you want, there's a book called The Cancer Cure They Suppressed for 20 years or 30 years. There's a book about it. You can read about the story. Basically, they were coming in for treatments, and after a month or two, 13 out of the 14 were completely healed. They had no more cancer, and only one of them still had some cancer, which they say later on he continued with the treatments, and that was gone too. So he had 100% success rate. So with all that data, with that trial data, he announced a press conference, and then the most renowned doctors and physicians and researchers attended it. After his presentation of his findings, they all gave him a standing ovation because he had discovered something incredible. The next day, guess what happened? Somebody broke in his lab and burned everything down, stole all of his equipment and his research. And then his partner or something stole his company. Basically, it just went downhill at that point. As if there was a group of people, which probably was true, that wanted to destroy him. And they did. So that ended there in 1920 something. But over time, people have revived his research or somehow continued his research and developed technologies based on that and had success. Right frequencies are one level of frequencies that we use also in our systems. So we basically emulate all of that. The only difference is my vision was to make it easy, portable, and like an everyday tool, like an iPhone. I wanted to be the Steve Jobs of frequency healing. And that's what we've done. Because before Qi Coils came along, you had these huge dial machines the size of of a whole table. You had to dial knobs manually like a radio. And then you had to sit there for like 3 hours or 4 hours. Not an average person could use it. And if you want to learn how to use it, you'll probably have to spend a lot of time, maybe a couple months to get up to speed. Now what we have is we have our tablet here, over here. No, what's my, I'll give you this one. We have 10,000 programs on there. We have a protocol generator that is AI powered. So you type in whatever you want, you press a button, in 5 seconds it generates a protocol over 7 days. You plug in the coil, you press play, and that's all you need to do. You don't have to think anymore. So now within 60 seconds, somebody can receive the energy from the system and start their own protocol and start their own sessions or self-wellness journey, right? From home, right? Or on the go in their office or even in the car, they can do it. So that's one, I'm going through this because that's one part of the one layer of frequencies. We have multiple layers. And then there's another layer of how we kind of went beyond that even, and then developed something even more potent. Yeah.
So how does someone use it? I see 2 coils. Do you put them either side of the room? Do you put them either side of the body part? For example, you talked about your mother and her knee. Do you actually touch the body? How does that work? And if somebody was in the car driving with them and they were powered, is that safe to do?
So yeah, those are good questions. So every coil has a range, let's say. So a small one has like a 3 feet range. The medium one, like these called Qi Coil 3, they'll have a 11-foot range. And then a max would have like a 20-foot range. And then this large one would have like a 3,000 square foot range. So range also means it's got more potency. So it actually delivers more in a set time. So if you want to work with something locally, let's say a knee, yeah, you can put it on your knee, but it's not necessary, because as long as you're inside of the field, your whole body is getting it, right? But if you want to put it closer because you want something more focused on a specific part of your body, then go ahead. So you can basically the answer is yes, you can do it both ways, either locally or just as part of the environment.
And do you have to be in between the 2 coils to be in the frequency, or if somebody was standing outside of one? So for example, someone's sitting down, someone's sitting 6 feet away from them, you put them in the middle, would both get the effect?
Yeah, basically. I mean, they both will get the effect. It just kind of feels a little bit different. I found that if it's wound counterclockwise, it feels more gentle and more expansive. If you use one that is clockwise, then it will be more focused and it will make you feel more, you can say, concentrated, activated. That's how I came up with the idea of making yin and yang coils. And what happens when you actually have yin and yang coils to your left and right, then in the middle is very, very calming and centering. So, which is very interesting to find that's actually happening, because that's what the Taoists have been talking about for the last thousands of years. And I discovered a technology that can replicate that with actual magnetic fields, right? So, so the answer is, well, if you want that kind of like the centering effect based on this concept of yin and yang, right? Then yeah, you would sit in the middle of it, but you don't have to, because as I said, it has a range, right? So you can be anywhere in the room, and you would be affected by it. So some people say, well, should you be close to it or should you be far from it? Well, yeah, if you're closer to it, then they'll be stronger, right? If you're farther from it, then it will not be as strong. But then the body is, our DNA and our cells are so sensitive to these magnetic fields that you don't need a very strong field for it to be working, right? Like, just think about Earth's magnetic field. It's very weak if you think about it, compared to a magnet, obviously, right? A magnet is like 1,000 times stronger than the magnetic field of Earth. So you don't need very strong fields to get the results, especially if you are in it every day, right? So you're in it every day, you're getting that like a trickle effect.
What would be the normal time? Because obviously, like you said, we live on Earth, there's a constant frequency. I would presume that you can't have too much of exposure to frequency. It depends what you're after. But what is the minimum amount of time that you would recommend? Let's just say somebody has, and you can tell me what's a common issue that people are finding as great success, but how many hours a day would you need to be in that frequency to have that success?
Yeah, so very common things are sleep, fatigue, chronic fatigue, energy, anxiety, depression, pain. And so those are the top ones. And I personally use it about 30 minutes a day, right? I have a set on my desk and I turn them on when I start working. And then after 30 minutes, I turn it off. And then also have one large one that has, set up to a very low power and it's just running all the time. So, but actually you can have too much, because some of the fields are very strong, some of the frequency is very strong. So, but how much should you have is really dependent on each person. Like, some people are more sensitive to magnetic fields, some people are less. So the sensitive ones are the ones that actually can receive more than the other ones. So basically, if you receive too much, you'll start to feel dizzy, nauseous, same effects as like detoxing too much. So we recommend just drink lots of water. And if you start feeling dizzy, stop using it, take a break, wait until tomorrow or the day after before you use more. Or maybe don't turn it up so high, because they're quite concentrated, these frequencies. And then when you are using it on the med bed, 10 minutes is really all you need, 10 to 15 minutes. Some people, maybe 30 minutes, right? Like, so a lot of clinics, they do these for 30 minutes for clients. That's more than enough.
You say that if you're ultra sensitive to it, or it's a little bit too much to begin with, you can feel nauseous or dizzy or those type of things. Does that mean that if you're driving, you wouldn't want it on in a car?
Well, if you're driving, yeah, you probably would turn it lower then, right? So the dosage depends on a few things. Number one, how high you turn up the power, which frequencies you're using. Some of them deliver more intensely than others, and how close you are to it, and how long you use it for, right? So all those things add up to dosage. So if you want a low dosage, then turn all of those down. But if you want a higher dosage, turn all of those up, right? So if you're driving, you don't want to be dizzy and nauseous, well, then, and you want to use it all day, then turn all those settings down, right? That's what I do. So if that's why I use it for 30 minutes. I don't need more than that, right? The background run is so low that it's not going to really affect me that noticeably, right? It's just always there. And I guess what happens also is like all the people in your house actually improve. If you have pets, especially, you'll notice your pets will behave differently. And if you have plants, you'll notice they'll grow faster. So I've seen some strange side effects as well, like good ones, like interesting ones, like harmless ones, but interesting side effects that come from being exposed to this over a long period of time.
What kind of side effects are you talking about, or effects?
Well, we can go into some more of the spiritual things, like for example, you'll dream more, right? Your intuition will be better for some reason, especially if you're already intuitive. You'll realize you just have these synchronizations happen more than you usually would. What else? Your nails, hair, and it will grow really fast. Just interesting things like that.
So effectively, what you're doing is you're creating more energy and performance at a cellular level to allow your body to do what it should be doing. But because of the toxins, the environment, the stress that we live under, we're actually slowing down or numbing down, or I look at it like a cell phone. We're not fully charging it, which means it can't run all the apps. Is that a good way
Exactly.
to say it?
Yeah, like so yeah, we're born superhuman, right? So we're born with amazing abilities to self-heal, to generate energy, to manifest things in reality, right? We all have the ability to do it. And yeah, modern life has suppressed all of that, right? All the food, the information we receive, cell phone towers with frequencies, right? Even cell phones with frequencies, screens with frequencies. There's frequencies all over the place. We can't avoid it. So that is actually damaging our DNA and aging us faster, draining our energy because our life force is fighting to stay alive, to survive instead of thriving. So modern life, our life force, our chi energy, so to speak, right? It's pronounced chi, by the way, not ki, even though it's a q. So what happens is we age faster, we're tired, we're stressed out, and and then we're not very effective, right? So what happens when we restore that with something like a coil or our frequencies, then it returns us to what we're supposed to do. So the body's not fighting either against itself or against all the toxins, pollution, not just air pollution, not just water pollution, but electromagnetic pollution, right? Right. Energy pollution. So it doesn't have to spend its energy to fight those things off. Rather, when your energy is strong, your body actually has a magnetic field that can be measured. So this magnetic field is like a natural shield that protects you from these outside negative energies, right? It's called a biofield, and our heart has the strongest biofield. And it's very interesting because recently, the U.S. government said that they had this technology that could find anybody based on their heartbeat. You heard that, right?
No, I didn't. Fascinating.
Okay. So last week, they said, we have a technology that can find anybody, even deep inside a mountain, based on their heartbeats. And they were announcing it as if it was novel and it was brand new, but it's been around for 40 years. How they do it is they can use highly sensitive electromagnetic sensors to read somebody's heartbeat deep inside a mountain or kilometers away. How could this technology be real if our hearts don't have a magnetic field? Okay, so that just confirmed that our heart's magnetic field is huge, and it has a signature, and it has a unique identifier that allows this technology to find anybody, anywhere, with just their heartbeat. So it's kind of scary and it's kind of interesting at the same time, right? Isn't it? So when our hearts are coherent, basically tuned in the right frequency, so to speak, right? When you're healthy, then its magnetic field is actually stronger. Okay, it's actually expansive, and you can measure it 20 feet away or even further, like with these secret technology they have that the government has. So it exists. We have a biofield, right? The government confirms that, and so now that we know, the question, like I said, isn't whether we're affected by frequencies, it's which frequencies are affecting you. Which frequencies are you exposed to, right? So when you can find and when you can use the frequencies that are in tune with health, longevity, peak performance, anti-aging, resilience, right? Calmness, confidence, all these like positive things, then you would eventually, you have to become that person. Don't really have a choice, right? Because those frequencies are reprogramming yourself in the DNA level. And now the harmful frequencies, pollution, all these things won't affect you as much, because you just have this natural shield that protects you from it.
There was a big talk about 5G, right? And when the phones came out, and then you got all the receivers out there emitting 5G, and we had two sides of the argument. Some were saying it's harmless, and some were saying you want to keep your cell phone away from your body as much as you can. You don't want to put it by your head. The frequencies are affecting your brain and body health. Where do you stand on that? And if we have that as a negative frequency, which I'm going to believe it is, because again, it's an overexposure in my opinion, but again, you're the experts. Do you have a solution for that? So if someone's constantly having to use their cell phone or in that environment with 5G, how do they recover from that? And how do you identify the right frequencies?
Yeah, so I'm not really going to go into all the studies in science, whether it's harmful or not, but like I believe it's harmful, right? But there's a kind of unique approach that we take towards that, right? A lot of people would try to block it, but you can't really block it because 5G is so small. It goes through everything, pretty much everything. And we have to function in the society, so we have to keep using our phones. So when I use my phone, yes, I don't hold it close. I use a speakerphone or something, so I don't have to hold it close to my ear or my brain. But the way we help with that is that we increase the energy of the body, and when we make a coherent environment with our energy fields, right? So that's why I have this playing all the time in my homes, because it creates a bubble of energy and this coherent, healthy energy field that's always there in your home. So it doesn't matter if there's 5G coming in, because it's always, let's say, retuning your body and retuning your energy field so that it protects itself, right? So you're strong enough so that doesn't affect you. I think that's a better way rather than try to block everything. Because if you try to block everything and you're not that strong, then still if something comes through, it's going to hurt you, right? If you guys do boxing, if you just keep blocking all the time, you're not going to win the fight, and the guy's just going to pummel you. Eventually, one of those punches will come through and hurt you, right? It's better to develop resistance so that when the punches come in, even if they hit you, you just roll it off, right? So that's the difference between being strong and resilient and trying to block everything that's trying to harm you. I mean, obviously you want to do both, right? But the mindset that you can block everything and that's going to be a long-term solution, I don't think that is a good long-term solution.
Yeah, it's around us all the time. We talk about and we hear a lot about grounding, especially in the biohacking world, which we know is, for those that don't know, going outside, stepping on the actual ground, getting on sand, not standing on concrete with bare foot. So we attach ourselves to the magnetic field and the release really of the stress in our body, the buildup. Is that what you're doing with Qi Life and the Qi coils? Is it a form of grounding?
Yes, it's a form of connecting back with nature because these frequencies are in nature, right? These frequencies are in the most, auspicious places and times. Okay, why I'm saying is because during certain times, the Earth is in better places, better in the solar system or in the universe at some than other times. Like this, based on astrology, basically, right? Sometimes the Earth is a certain place and time that benefits and is auspicious for everybody on the planet. So yes, if you go to the beach, if you go and ground yourself barefoot, that would be helpful. If you go to nature, it helps you relax. All those things are true. What I've done is basically I've emulated a lot of these frequencies from nature so that you don't have to do that if you don't have time. I mean, we're these days, times and ages, we don't have time. A lot of people are so busy. They have 80-hour work weeks. They don't have parks near them. They don't want to walk on the concrete barefoot, right? So a lot of people live in urban environments. They don't have time or space to do a lot of things. So, and with this technology, you can do it all the time. You can have it supporting you all the time. That's the difference, right? And the concept is that you're reconnecting or re-exposing yourself to this environment that nature has designed, right? That your body is designed to interface with. Your body is designed for frequencies, actually, right? If you think about, like I said, the brain waves, your heart, and electromagnetic field. Your DNA actually communicates with light, with your cells. So all those are frequencies. So it's basically we're speaking to the body very differently and affecting the body very differently from what traditional medicine is doing, right? Which is just, suppress the symptom. Here's a pill, cut this off, poison this, burn this off, right? Just treating the symptoms. No, we go and we restore the body to what it's originally intended to do.
I read something about 3,000 miles. You can feel a frequency from 3,000 miles away. Did I read that right?
Actually, it's infinite, right? Now, so now we go into the kind of the quantum level. So, like for example, our consciousness, there's no limit. So basically, everything's connected, right? This is how quantum entanglement works, and they've proved this. Basically, if there's two particles far from each other, they're in instant communication faster than light. So if you put one particle here, put one particle on the moon, hundreds of thousands of kilometers away, right? You would expect, light travels at this speed. It'll take them maybe 5 seconds before that particle on the moon would receive a signal, right? But no, it receives it instantly. They're entangled, quantum entangled, faster than light, instant time. Why? How is that possible? The reason is because distance is an illusion. Actually, those particles are connected in one single point in space and time already. Well, if those particles are connected, then we are actually all connected. All reality is connected in this single point. They call it the 0-point field. So everything, all reality, space and time, past, future, present, all connected in one single point, okay? So that is the reality. So if that's the case, then there is no distance between anything. We're all in the same place all the time. So electromagnetic frequencies, then do they have a limit how far they can go? Actually, no. Based on that principle, they can go infinite distance, right? I can send a frequency here, and on the moon, in Mars, another planet, they will receive it instantly, okay? So I've actually developed a system that took 3 years to build. And we do that. So what we do, we actually can quantum entangle our frequencies with people. And this is going to woo-woo land. I know a lot of people will say this is BS and don't believe it. That's fine, don't use it then, okay? But you can try it if you want and prove me that doesn't work, okay? Basically, we have a system that in 30 seconds can send energy to anyone in the world. All you need is a photo. Like, how does that work, right? How can you send energy to a photo? Okay, So there's this universal intelligence that guides and governs everything, right? Whether you believe it or not, there's this higher power, there's this universal intelligence that knows everything. Now we use AI. This is a good example, okay? You use AI now, and then we type in questions into ChatGPT, and then it gives you a whole bunch of answers and a whole bunch of knowledge. Where does that come from? It's called a learning model, language learning model, and an LLM, right? Before, 10 years ago, people would think that was impossible. That was like magical or something like that. Now we have programs. Now the AI can code for you and solve huge problems, right? So I say, I want to develop this code to do this and this. I want to build this website. Now the AI can do it in 10 minutes. You don't need to know code. It'll do it for you. Where did that AI get all that knowledge from? It's from a database of information, right? And it knows how to do everything. And all you had to do is just give it an instruction, right? Universal intelligence is kind of like that. It's like the ultimate AI, ultimate intelligence that knows how to do everything, okay? And all you have to do is know how to send instructions. If you know how to send instructions, you can get this AI to do anything you want all the time and to send energy anywhere you want. So basically, we created a system that can do that. We learn how to send instructions to this universal AI, so to speak, universal intelligence, and be able to connect them because we already connected. And all you need is a photo. So you upload a photo to ChatGPT, it'll tell you what it is. How did it know? How do they know that's an apple? How do they know this is a person? How do they know this is a phone or whatever picture you want, right? I have a garden and say, what plant is this? It told me what plant it is. So universal intelligence knows everything. You upload a photo, it knows who that person is. And it knows where that person is now. And it knows what that person needs, right? So if this universal intelligence does actually exist and it knows everything that's ever existed, how, would it be hard for them to be able to send energy to them? No, it'll be a piece of cake, actually, right? So anyway, we develop a system in 30 seconds. You upload a photo, we can send wellness frequency to someone and they'll experience it within a minute. Okay, so I developed this 3 years ago because my parents, obviously they live in different parts of the world, right? They're getting old. And sometimes they don't know how to use the coils because they have to use a computer and a phone or a tablet to play them. Sometimes it disconnects and they don't know, oh, what do I do? So I want something, so I got to figure something out that doesn't require any equipment, okay? So I said, there's got to be a way. So I figured out how to send energy to them. So now their house is getting energy and then they are getting energy on a schedule that I've programmed into this platform that I've built for just specifically for that. So I know it sounds crazy, but we actually have thousands of people using it and they're loving it. So it's called Qi.ai. Qi, like, I know is like contradictory, but it's actually Qi.ai, Qi.ai. So, yeah.
Yeah, incredible. And I'm a huge believer that everything is possible when it's done correctly. We're learning so much now. There's so many new technologies that are coming out that are proving what was impossible is actually so possible. If somebody said, okay, I love what I'm hearing, I want to try it, who are the right people? And I know this is a general question. Who would be the right people to say, get this Qi Coil or go to your website? We'll put that in the listing underneath the podcast as well, as you can tell us in a minute as well. Who are the best clients to get the success?
Well, best clients, people who want to increase their performance, right? People who want to reduce their biological age, people who want to have longevity, have energy, focus, want better wellness for their brain health, people who want to function at their best. And, they're they're feeling they're kind of slowing down and they're not functioning or performing like they used to. So, and they want to bring it back. Like, look at me. I'm actually 46, right? How do I look? I don't look 46. Most people don't think I'm 46, right? So, and I train every day about an hour a day. I do boxing and I do things like that. And then, and it's pretty intense. And my body doesn't get sore or injured or tired as someone my age does. So I'm able to do that. So that's number one. And number two are people who run clinics who maybe they have an extra room, right? That they can potentially turn into what we call a frequency room. You just put one of these med beds in there and you don't need extra staff. You don't need extra certification or training, but now you can offer frequency sessions for your clients, right? They come in, it's only 30 minutes. After they're done, they wipe down the bed. The next client comes in. It's got high margin and it's so simple to operate. So it's one of the easiest, simplest things without getting more staff or getting more training, or it takes one day to set up. So those are our biggest clients right now. And everybody else who has pain, they've tried everything and nothing's helping them. Chronic fatigue, anxiety, depression, parasites, they want better wellness, they want to feel better, sleep, they have stress, we help all those things easily. And, if you're skeptical, fine. We have free frequencies you can try. I'll give you the website, or Dan can give you the website later. You can try. There's 3. You can try absolutely free for as long as you want. And then the frequencies themselves, you listen to these and you will actually sleep better with it. And then see if if it's real, if it actually works. You don't buy anything, just try the frequencies, right? Even the Chiari I was talking about, you get 3 free sessions. Just put in your photo. We don't keep the photo, right? You just put in the photo and then see if it works. Play around with it, right? See if your wife will feel it. See if your son or daughter will feel it, right? Just send it to other people and see if it actually works. Play around with it. It's very interesting how the results we get. So I would start there, right? There's no investment whatsoever. Just play around with it for now. That's what I did it when I started. I just played around with things, and then eventually I said, "Whoa, this is happening. Something's happening, right?" And then your belief will increase over time because of results, right?
How do you know which frequency to use? You provide that information, or it's
we have a protocol generator. So like you can type in anything in the search box, then it's just going to give you a protocol and just use that. So we have over 10,000 frequencies. So it's basically you can just search anything that you want. If you don't know what it is, then just use some of our general ones. We have some for calm and clarity. We have a one for sleep, right? We have one for better energy. I mean, everybody needs those, right? So just start with those.
Sounds so simple, and I'm a big believer. It may be super intelligent to give it, but the simplicity is actually the magic, because we're tapping back into how the body works, what the body needs. And so if it's too confusing or too elaborate, for me personally, it's missing something. Simplicity is the beauty of it, but getting the simplicity is the clever part.
Mm-hmm.
Where can people find you?
Well, I have all the links that you need at getresonance.io, getresonance.io. And on there, you can learn about Qi Coils, learn about Chiari, get the free frequencies, learn about the frequency rooms. Also, you can learn about my AI marketing system that I've built already. We've built something to help businesses basically use AI to enhance and speed things up and cut costs and things like that. So we also have that. Yeah.
There's no rest for you, is there?
You're on a mission. Always innovating.
Yeah, that for me again is such a beautiful thing, because going from your real life experience, playing, experimenting, testing, and coming up with a solution that cured you, to then find out it's helping other people. that's a mission of itself that you can't rest from. And that excitement. And again, you remember what it was like being ill, being sick, being unable, not knowing how much longer you had left to live in life. And so every day is a beautiful gift.
Absolutely. That's my life.
It's fantastic. Well, we will drop all the links underneath the podcast and share them with you, David, so that everyone can come and find and look into the Qi coils, the Qi life. There's so much that we're losing, in my opinion, with the current state of the world, chasing the elaborate, but without doing the work. If we can tap back into the body, which is a miracle in itself, it's incredible what we can create. David,
Absolutely.
thank you so much for being here on Born Superhuman. And I look forward to learning more because, again, I'm fascinated. And this is an area I've definitely got to study more into. So thank you so much for sharing your time, sharing your knowledge, and most importantly, changing people's life for better.